Hello, this is Dr. Francis Yu, and this is a video on finding your Enneagram type, the basics. And I'm Dr. Francis Yu. I am a Rizzo Hudson certified Enneagram teacher to the Enneagram Institute. So first, let's go over a little bit of the history. There is quite a extensive and expansive contribution from ancient history, which we will not get into, but I want to point out the fact that the Enneagram does have connections and roots and in quite uh, established perspectives and models. As for the modern history, it is really these three individuals, G.I. Gurdjieff, Oscar Chauzo, and Claudio Naranjo, who really brought our modern concepts of the Enneagram and especially its use in personal development and personal awareness, and is and they are the three people that from them um, we have had all the schools that we have today, and there are various schools that teach various perspectives, but they are all rooted uh, largely from the works of these three individuals. So what are the uses of the Enneagram? Really, it's the personal use for self-awareness, personal growth and development, which extends is professional growth and development is an expansion or a component of this personal growth. And it's also used for groups, conflict management, team growth and development, but really all of it is rooted in the personal development and growth, and the model of the Enneagram helps us figure out ways we can be self-aware and use that for personal development. So the theory is very important. Otherwise, it is very tempting to just jump into the different Enneagram types and trying to just figure out what your type is, which if done well and done with good guidance, it is very helpful. But it is very important to get the theory and understanding first so that it makes sense. So the Enneagram, what it means, it's a 9-figure. So if you see on the side here, there's a circle, a triangle, and something called an hexad, which is this 7-pointed figure in which each of the points touches the circle. And really the Enneagram idea, or the 9 types of Enneagram that we will talk about, has to do with these 9 points where the line touches the circle. Now there's a lot more to this figure, and the circle, triangle, hexad all have their meanings, and they're purposefully, but that is outside the scope of this basic video. So the best way to conceive of the 9 types of the Enneagram first is to think of, before the types, that there are 9 essential qualities and virtues. Now they're in quotation marks because they're quite loaded phrases and words. Now these are ever-present archetypal qualities, these essential qualities. Qualities that are just there, that people have, and that are amazing, great, or whatever other superlative you like to use. So in the ideal situation, these 9 essential qualities lead to these virtues. But there is a perceived loss or lack of the essential qualities, which leads to each person being motivated to retrieve and recover that lost essential quality. So this motivation is what leads to the characteristics of each of the 9 types. Now, it'll make more sense once we actually go through the types. Okay, so the key motivations can be broken down into kind of the opposite sides of this. So the basic fear is not having the essential quality. And the basic desire is to get the essential quality through one's effort. And we will see that in each type. So let's start with type 8. And for each of the types, I have this title. Uh, Everyone has different titles. And really, it is their attempt to try to manifest or describe a phrase or an image. So it's not really the words themselves that are, we're not saying type 8, I'm not saying type 8 is Queen King of the Hill. It's this imagery and scenario and whole picture that I'm trying to portray. This is just the one I decided to use to describe what's going on. And this is the case for all the types. So for the type 8, the essential quality is the strength to not be controlled by the environment. Then the perceived loss of this quality leads to the type 8's key motivations, which is the basic fear of being violated, harmed, and losing control. Which then there's a basic desire to get protection, strength, power of aliveness, and be in control. So then there's this fixation on getting autonomy by my own power in the outer world. And thus we get the characteristics that we see in a type 8. Confidence, combativeness, and being confrontational. And they can range from being very dynamic, charismatic leader that people just follow without them having to tell people to follow them. They're just a champion of what they're doing simply by being themselves. Or they can become bossy and flaunt their power and be the one that's trying to overcome others and let people know that they're the ones in charge. So this game, right, King, Queen of the Hill, is where the person at the top of the hill is the king, queen, the royalty, or whatever you want to call it. And there's this consistent fight or combat to be the person on top. So the type 8 is the one who probably is going to be the one on top of that hill because they're always striving to get on top. Now that would be how we normally see the type 8. But really, if a type 8 remembered and recalled that they have this essential quality, they have the strength to not be controlled by the environment, they wouldn't really care if they were the queen and king of the hill or they were not. They wouldn't even need to play this game to show their strength. Okay, next. Type 9 I call, or the imagery is "this is fine," and this is from the comic gun show. It's has had its share of being shown on the internet. So there's this dog in this comic, and in the first panel, the dog is sitting there. There's the fire, and there's a cup. In the second panel, the dog says, "This is fine." In the third panel, the dog says, "I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently." Then the dog drinks from this cup, coffee or whatever else it may be. And the fire, you can see, is persisting. And in the fifth panel, the dog says, "That's okay. Things are going to be okay." And the sixth panel, well, on the fifth panel also, you see the dog's left arm getting red and burnt. And in the last panel, the dog is literally melting. So The essential quality for the type 9 is peace, an internal and external peace, a sort of harmony, and a connection and connectedness to things, oneself, others, etc. And this perceived loss of this peace leads to the key motivations of the fear of losing my world or being separated from my world. And then the basic desire is to get this inner peace and stability that I can believe that I have in my inner world. So, and then there's a fixation for the type 9 is getting autonomy by maintaining this harmony, which leads to the characteristics of the type 9. They can be pleasant, resigned, spaced out, resolving, a resolver. So all the things that someone who is striving to achieve this peace or do things about conflict would do. So type 9 can be a peacemaker who has this peace and harmony even when things aren't going all that well. Maybe there's conflict, maybe there's troubles, but they're still at peace. And at the other end, type 9 can become someone that denies their issues, ignores their problems, and has this peace, but it's a made-up peace. Now, the key thing to keep in mind is that we all have all these aspects. It is for the type, in other words, we all, people, have this tendency to deny, ignore the problems, and live in their own made-up world and daydream. But for the type 9, it's what's happening all the time. It's not a sometimes. It's really every single day, every single thing they do is colored by these motivations. Okay, so now that I think get the idea of how the motivations and fears and desires work, we'll go to the rest of the types a little bit faster. So type 1 I call good enough, question mark, and there's a report card here with a plus A. And I just realized that. I thought it would be A plus, but it's a plus A. Anyway, maybe it's flipped. Anyway, so the essential quality for the type 1 is perfection. And the type 1 perceives that they lost this perfection, which leads them to fear being bad and defective, and desiring goodness, integrity, and perfection. The fixation is on getting autonomy by maintaining internal boundary. And the characteristics are then being critical, principled, responsible, and always concerned with, can it be better? Is it good enough? And is it, what can I do or what can someone else do to improve things? Now, the type 1 can range from realizing the integrity and seeing the goodness in everything, even if there are flaws, and to the other extreme end, critically destroying everyone and themselves to the point of destroying themselves, groups, cultures for the sake of this is what is right in their perspective. Type 2, no need to thank me. So here, the essential quality, the type 2 is loved. They have this quality of being loved. In this loved and that relatedness to people. The perceived loss of this quality of being loved leads to the motivations of fear of not being loved, not being wanted, and the basic desire is then to feel loved. And the fixation here is I need to find identity by being valued and regarded by others. And the characteristics of the type 2, they can be generous, giving, and they can want appreciation. Now, giving is a good thing. Being generous is a good thing. But that underlying motivation can be uh, positive or not so positive, depending on what's going on inside. So the type 2 can range from being people pleasing and nosy, just getting into other people's space, doing things for them that weren't asked, and and catering to other people's needs for the sake of being thanked. They might say, "No need to thank me. It was my pleasure. Oh, it's fine, anytime." But really, deep down, they may harbor this. Yeah, yeah, they want to be thanked, that they want to be acknowledged for what they did, and they want that attention and that attention returned. So that can be range from people pleasing, being nosy, to the a very healthy scenario of being truly altruistic and relating to people and knowing that they're loved without having to feel like they have to do things for others. So type 3, I am my accomplishments. So the type 3 is a very the school system, education and jobs and earning money is very type 3 ness, and something that again we all have. Is just for the type 3, they're always in their 3ness. So here, the essential quality is value and worth, and the type 3 perceives that they lost this, which leads to the key motivations of basic fear of being worthless and the basic desire to be worthy and being valued. The fixation here is, I need to find identity by proving my value to others and myself. And I do that by getting a list of accomplishments, trophies, winning, victories, titles, etc. So the characteristics of the type 3, they can be very driven, hardworking, and may have a need to succeed and win. So a type 3 can range from, on a healthy scale, realizing one's worth without having to do anything, which actually then helps them be more driven and accomplish more things, because then they realize that they're not a product, or they're not equal to what they accomplished. And by being accepting of their worth, regardless of these accomplishments, and then they are just able to be more who they are. And on the other side of it, a type 3 can go on non-stop living to get more and more and more. The next car, the next prize, the next raise, the next business, and in the end, not finding what it is that they want to the value and worth, because it is something they had all the time, but they're trying to find it in these external accomplishments. So type 4, I am me, take it or leave it. Here there's a picture of a single different duckling going in the opposite direction here. And the essential quality here is significance. The type 4 perceives they lost this significance, and then they fear not having an identity, and they desire to find or get this personal significance and identity. And the fixation is, I need to find identity by being the me, the one that's going against the grain, the one that is different or set apart in a way, or things like that. And type 4s can be dramatic, mood chasing, and want to stand out. And they may even say, oh, woe is me, look at all my troubles, and they may then identify themselves with this troubled persona, and in a way they like that. It's this mood now that they have that they can identify with. So I'm me, take it or leave it. And they can be range from being quite inspired and creative, and the other side, they can become tormented and identify it as being the tormented, and actually be okay with that and like that. So type 5, I need to know more. So here the essential quality is profound knowing. There's a perceived loss, of this profound knowing. And then the type 5 fears incompetence, ignorance, not knowing what is real. And the basic desire is to know what I'm doing and understand reality. And here the fixation is I need to find security by knowing and preparing stuff. And type 5s can be secretive, innovative, and curious. And they are very into the thing that they think they know more about. And so type 5s can be very insightful, visionary, contributing to new perspectives, and being a someone who can contribute from their expertise and knowledge. Or they can be isolated, detached from reality, and make up their own world in which they know everything, but they just actually don't know anything about what is actually real. So type 6, trust no one, question mark, it's from the X-Files, right? I think it's X-Files here. All right, so the essential quality here is faith. And faith as in groundedness, trust, and a knowing of um, of trust. Here, the perceived loss of faith leads to fearing the lack of trust, not having support, the basic desire to get security and groundedness. And the fixation here is I need to find security by having something or someone to trust in. And that could be someone else, organizations, religious groups, myself, no one, a group at work, group from school, old school friends I've had for many years from a long time ago, etc., etc. So the type 6 can be responsible, loyal, but also testing, because by testing different organizations, they can tell if they can trust them or not. So the type 6 can range from being the connective pillar that really provides that groundedness and security and a place for connection, or they can become antagonistic to authority figures and just wailing and attacking figures that maybe standardly be attributed to being trustworthy. But all of it is rooted out to, again, the desire to find the security and groundedness. Type 7 I call all the rides. So the quality here is satisfaction. There's a perceived loss of dissatisfaction. Then a type 7 gets the basic fear of fearing emotional pain, fearing being deprived, and the basic desire is then to be fulfilled and be happy. And the fixation here is I need to find security by avoiding my inner world because new things will take me away from that, and I won't have to go there. And type 7s can be spontaneous, trying new things, and just suggesting just new approaches to things. And here, the extreme example I would give is that they may be at the top of this roller coaster ride, right? And then at the top, they see another roller coaster, and they want to be in that one, even though that ride isn't over yet. So the Type 7 can range from being quite happy, have pure excitement, to being distracted, escaping themselves, and just being scattered. So to give a different way to group these 9 types is that they're different centers of intelligence, and it is an imbalance in these different centers that relate to these different types. So the instinctive center or triad, we call it 891, and they share the issues are about boundaries, autonomy, and the emotion is anger. And for the feeling triad, which is here 2, 3, 4, identity, attention, and shame is the commonality. And for the thinking triad or the thinking center, it's the 5, 6, 7, and security and fear are the common issues. Again, it's the imbalance. Let's say someone has a feeling, their feeling center of intelligence is imbalanced. And it can show up as a 2, 3, 4 because they all have the same imbalance, but it's then attended to in a different way. And this imbalance then causes the drive, then causes or leads to the behaviors and the personality. And no type is better or worse, they're just different. So development and details. So this is what's after the basics. So there are wings. So if you look at the circle, the important thing to keep in mind is that they aren't just 9 types, quote unquote. Your type can be anywhere on this circle. So let's say you could be type 1 that's closer to type 9, and then but you'll still have some qualities of the type 2. I call it the neighborhood. The 2 neighborhood is uh, the 1 neighborhood is 9, 1, and 2, but you may be closer to the 9 than or the 2 as a 1. And there are these arrows which show how people may take on characteristics of the type that they're connected to in the lines inside the circle, right? There's actually a point to the line in the circle. So the 963 is this triangle here that connects the 963 types, and then the hexad connects 142857, 142857, that side of things. And there's something called instinctual variance, which is very, very, very important, but outside the scope of doing the basics. For a quick remark about it, people have, as organisms, we have these different um, already embedded instincts, self-preservation, survival, and making sure we're living our everyday life, sexual, attraction energy, merging with events and things like that, and social about connecting and contributing and etc. So depending on how developed they may be or those interactions, that colors significantly the Enneagram type. And that is a short version of that. And the levels of development. So a type 5 can be different from other type 5s from everything that was on the previous slide, but also depending on how quote unquote healthy they are in their development. So here, which is maybe a little bit confusing, there's 9 numbers which relates to the levels of development, 1 being the most healthy, 9 being the least healthy. And here, there's a peg, it's a pegboard, it's a peg in level 5 with a rubber band that can stretch well, here's 4 to 6, but it can probably stretch from 3 to 7. And there's a center of gravity in which throughout the day, a person may range in the health, go up from 4 to 6 or 3 to 7. Let's say something good happens to them or something, if they have pain, and they may range. But the personal development is to move this peg up on the peg board so that instead of ranging from 4 to 6 throughout the day, we can range from 3 to 5 and then 2 to 4, etc. So there's a dynamism and growth part of this. And to give you the context here, 1, 2, and 3 is the healthy level of development, 4, 5, 6 average, 7, 8, 9 unhealthy. And this is another way to see how different people of the same type can differ. So putting it together, you have a 2 with a 3 wing. That's what this W means. And they can have qualities of the 4 and 8 depending on their growth and situation via the arrows. And they may have a self-preservation, sexual, social instinctual stack, meaning those are the most to least developed. And they could be a level development 4, range from 3 to 6. So you can see how we can, there's a lot of dynamism and development built into the system. So my way of helping people find their type, I like to have people take the Riso-Hudson Enneagram Type Indicator, and then to watch my Enneagram presentation, which you are watching right now, and then to review it with me, because the question, the ready is a self-done assessment, right? It's you answer it from your own perception of how you think things are going or things you do. But part of Enneagram is about finding things about you that you may not have realized, and by having someone who, like myself, that knows how to use the Enneagram to help you find out more about you, it's much more helpful than doing it on your own. So some concluding remarks. So finding your type itself is a journey, a process of personal discovery and development. Finding your type isn't the end. It's finding your type is now knowing how to get out of the box that we put ourselves in. And finding your type is part of that journey itself. So the purpose is not knowing your number, so you can share it at a cocktail party or as an icebreaker. That's not the point. It's for those who are lazy and don't want to invest their attention and money, those who want an easy answer for their life without doing the work, and those who outsource inner work and personal development. Like they ask someone else to heal them, to give them skills and to help them grow. These are not things that someone else can do for us. So the purpose here is self-awareness and development using knowing what your Enneagram type is. It's investing in yourself for personal wellness, cultivation, professional satisfaction and authenticity, and improving your relationships. All right, thank you for watching the video, and I hope this was helpful for your journey to find the Enneagram type. Please let me know if there are any questions, comments, and all right.